Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I advise you to subscribe to the channel and put a like. Did you do? Great. Now I propose to pepper-vey it to the topic of the video we have today is not usual, namely, what's the adult version of being picked last in gym class? Story 1. I used to keep track of everyone's birthday at work, make the cakes and go around reminding people that so-and-so was having a birthday, so that everyone would wish them a happy birthday. Never had anyone remember my birthday. Once I had a big birthday coming up, so I mentioned it to a few people ahead of time so they wouldn't feel bad or awkward at missing it. Didn't get a single happy birthday. So I figured fuck this place. Applied for a promotion, and now I get twice the pay and work from home. Story 3. She's really not that bad. She's just disappointed that I'm not the daughter she wanted and she doesn't understand how my disabilities affect me. Preferring to believe I'm not disabled and just being overdramatic. There's a lot about her formative years that I've learned over the years that has helped me forgive her. I still don't like her though, and work through any guilt I may feel on the occasions I lose control of my temper and force her to see the harm her way of trying to handle me has done to both myself and my daughter. My girl is me 2.0 and is the main reason I'm doing as well as I am. I wasn't able to raise her, so she was raised by my parents, and that meant I had to stabilize, work on my mental health, and get some kind of handle on my emotional disability in order to learn how to run interference and defend my girl when my parents were making the same mistakes they made with me. Thankfully, her social worker often backed me up once he saw that I could read my daughter better than anyone else and how much influence I had over her. Edith added more information. It doesn't help that I'm adopted. I very much take after my biological family, and I was an absolute hellion as a teenager. I'm not treated differently because of being adopted, BTW. I've been told by numerous family members, including my parents, that they occasionally even forget I'm adopted because I'm part of the family, not an outsider. It's important because I'm pretty much a cuckoo chick. Cuckoo birds lay their eggs in the nests of other birds and then abandon them to be raised by the forced foster families, except they chose to adopt me after I was placed with them as a foster child. I am very different from my adoptive family and do not fit in at all. Story 4. It's worth it. I had a group of friends treat me like worse than dirt for years, and they constantly make plans and talk about their interests in front of me. And if I tried to join in, they get looks on their faces like they stepped in something disgusting. I almost killed myself. Don't do that to yourself. Just cut them out. They aren't worth it, but your happiness is. Good luck. Edit. I just want y'all to know that you're seen, you're heard, you're valid, and you deserve love and to be treated decently. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Story 5. When I was in my early 20s, I had a job in an office. Probably the worst office I've been in to date. And I've had plenty of office jobs. The environment was so catty. Eventually, I noticed they were keeping things from me, leaving me out of things. I got the impression that people were lying to me or not being real with me. Listen, we all went through middle school. We know when we don't fit in. I wasn't dumb. The final straw was a company-wide event, and I found out that the reason why I wasn't informed is because my boss went great lengths to make sure I wasn't on the email list. She isolated me to my own space so that I wouldn't hear conversations about it. I heard about the event, the day of, by accident. My boss tried to come up with an excuse that it was just managers only. Come to find out, this was a lie. I might not have been 100 at that job, but I never got any feedback on how to improve. Even still, I also don't see how that justified their behavior towards me. I've had shitty employees, but I never acted like this towards them. Story 6. I've heard that kind of thing about managers not being the best in the field, often spoken as a negative, and I heartily disagree. No saying you did that. Just my own perspective using your comment as a jumping-off point. I'm a writer who has had some really fortunate positions in terms of work and pay. Not so humble brag, just a reminder to my fellow English majors that it's possible, and also you can pry my job out of my cold dead hands. Anyway, my previous manager was a gem. Extremely encouraging, able to fight the team's battles in a diplomatic way, facilitated workflow. All the shit that I, as a creative and an introvert and kind of an asshole but means well seep down if you can get past the surface, am loath to do. And she advocated like hell for me to get promoted. And once I hit a wall and lost motivation, she was very encouraging about my finding new opportunities that would suit me more. Also, maybe don't need to mention, but most bad managers I've found have been total Peter principles. Kind of think for modern times it should be the Michael Scott principle. People who may be great at the technical aspect of the roles they manage, but have zero command of organizational dynamics. Story 7. My roommate in college was like this. I liked him. We lived together for years. We both liked computers and video games. He had social anxiety and complained constantly about doing social things that involved strangers. He also seemed very uncomfortable, especially at bars or public places. When it was just a handful of our social group hanging out, he had a good time. When we invited him to go to a party or a bar, he usually said no, but if he went, he seemed miserable and complained. The music sucked, there were too many dudes at the party, the drinks were no good, etc., etc., etc. So we kinda just stopped inviting him to things. Then one day he blew up at me for excluding him. And I felt bad, but also he hated doing stuff. It was a weird conversation. He wanted to feel invited. He just wanted to then not go. Story 8. Oh, I have a good one for this. My husband loves Letterkenny. I threw him a super soft birthday party and made a fancy unicorn cake all by myself to fit the theme. My mother kept insisting that my husband be the one to cut the cake at his party, and he kept saying no because he was too busy hanging out with his friends, so the cake never got cut. No one ever even tasted the cake. And then at the end of the party, when we were cleaning up, I was very frustrated and told him you might as well throw it away since it never got cut during the entire party and no one got to enjoy it. And he literally just dumped it in the trash without even tasting it or acknowledging any of the hard work that I put into making it. We could have taken the cake home at the very least, but he immediately turned around and dumped it in the trash the moment I said that. Yeah, I'm still pissed about that one. Story 9. My husband gets invited out all the time and then he asks me if we should go. Sometimes I send just him and then they all ask, oh, where's the wife? And he'll be like, oh, you didn't invite her. Before he deployed, everyone was always like, oh, we'll have to hang out and blah, blah, blah. But then I reached out and heard nothing back, so I stopped communicating with them altogether. It's freeing and I ended up making some amazing friends and we do things together when we can. But I'm mostly alone. I also made sure to seriously cut back on my social media, Facebook and IG presence. When they're talking about the parties they held just drinking and doing the same things, I know I've not been lonely. I go visit Comic Cons, go hiking and camping, travel in and out of state, visit all the museums, state parks, national parks, and tons of local events. Once you're comfortable being solo, life really opens up. Story 11. Changing careers in your early 40s. Hear me out. I was perpetually the last kid on the bench at the beginning of baseball, basketball, and football seasons, at least in elementary and middle school. I would be the very last basketball player to come into a scrimmage in the preseason. But then I hustled, didn't quit, and they figured out that even though I wasn't great at dribbling or shooting, I could play lockdown defense because I didn't give up. I ended up starting by the second or third game and never got put back on the bench. I gave up a good career at 42 to do something completely different. I started doing tasks that an illiterate person could do. Being the last person off the bench felt as degrading. That said, I am getting better. Hopefully, I'll be the equivalent of a starter soon. Story 12. Hey, at least you got an invite. In May, I found out that I wasn't invited to a friend's wedding when I had lunch with another friend who was visiting from out of town, and he mentioned that he was attending these friends' wedding. I guess I really found out a few months prior when we were at a social event, and the topic of the wedding came up and I asked when it was and the friend said, let's put a pin in that discussion. But I didn't know what that meant and tried to avoid assuming. After reaching out to the friend, she told me I'd been on the list of people they'd wanted to invite and was next on the list of people they'd invite if they had room. It was somewhat of a comfort, but it still hurts a lot, and I still haven't recovered emotionally. Story 13. Honestly, it's taken me years to get better. It's a process. But I'm so much healthier and happier now, and I have new friends who actually, care about me and reach out to me and enjoy spending time with me. And I was only able to make those friends by not being around my old friends all the time anymore. I don't think I realized how much of my time I dedicated to just trailing miserably behind them like a kicked dog. You are worthy of love, and especially your own love, and that means setting boundaries and being kind to yourself. Honestly, putting yourself first is also important to being able to support other people. You can't help others if you're not on a solid foundation yourself. I'm cheering for you. Story 14. I make an excellent chocolate zucchini bread. I brought a loaf to a work function and it was gone fast. I was approached by a woman who, I'm not exaggerating, only ate chocolate candy, McCheese, and plain hamburgers as her regular diet. Nothing else. I worked with her for over 2 years and she seriously never ate anything else. Anyway, she asked how I made the brownies and I said, "Oh, I made a chocolate zucchini bread, not brownies." She pointed to the plate the bread was on and said, "You didn't make the brownies that were there?" I responded, "That's my plate," but it was a chocolate zucchini bread. She was furious that I tricked her into eating a vegetable, and that is the story of why the office had to start labeling all homemade treats, including listing out all ingredients, and also proof that zucchini bread is awesome. Story 15. Ooh, I felt that. In my friend group in college, I'm birthday neighbors with one of my friends. I was first of the month and she's the second. She was studying abroad this semester and the group was getting back midnight on a flight May 1st, a week and a half before. One of other friends a few years older than Junior made a group chat with all of the friends to celebrate her return and her birthday. I was in that group chat as we discussed what to the day of my birthday as we waited to surprise her off the plan. It's a running joke now between us two and the closer of our friends after the fact now, and they even did some scrambling to backtrack and say, "Oh, we can celebrate both when we go out." But man. Story 16. I think this depends. If you're close family's friends with them, absolutely. But as someone who was a second-round invite for my own cousin and not invited to 2 of my cousins, I don't care. The one I'm closest to made sure I was invited right away and that I was coming. But the others I'm not close to. I saw this as the fact I didn't have to pay for a wedding gift. With my other cousin, I still wasn't that worried because we're 10 years apart and she invited the other aunt's cousins in the same round I was invited. Story 17. Or being uninvited or told that there's no party when there actually is, because they don't want to invite you. This happened to me once. I was invited to a party, but the host messaged me the morning of the party to say the party was canceled and to not come. Then I saw the day after he splashed photos all over Facebook of the rager party that clearly wasn't canceled. I blocked and deleted him without even confronting him. The fact he didn't even care to try and hide it from me after the fact really stung. Worked out for the best though. I went to a different party hosted by my now husband and we got together that night. Story 18. Not a Tinder date. But when I was in Barcelona, this attractive guy struck up a conversation with me at the bar. He was also from the US and was traveling. We hung out for the rest of the night and he joined my group of friends because he thought we were cool and his friends didn't want to go out that night. Anyways, I'm kind of heavily flirting with him for a while, only for him to meet a girl. And in the 4 hours I knew this man, he went and had sex with this girl in the bathroom and came back and told me about it. Such a weird experience. Story 19. This happened to me recently, like, it's in the schedule because you get the day off. I told people it was my B-day when we were talking about the days off. But when the day came, nothing. 2 days later a coworker had her B-day and everyone was telling her happy B-day. Until one of them mentioned both bless her soul and suddenly everybody was wishing me as well. I didn't even answer. And the B-day girl joked not in a mean way about them forgetting. It's not like I enjoy my B-day. But them doing it as an after, though, was even more bad. Story 20. Getting skipped when someone brings a birthday card for everyone to sign. Not just once, every time. I worked there long enough that I knew the birthday person way better than the person bringing around the card to be signed. Then, of course, there is the, "Hey, let's order pizza day," but they don't ask if you want to go in on it. The best one is when someone tell you about something that happened and you were there and saw it yourself. You say, "I know I saw it." Their response, "You were there?" "Yes, I was standing right next to you, right next to." Story 21. Not in the way that your question implies. I have a brother and 2 step-siblings. Of the 4 of us, I am the only non-married and I am demonstrably the one who earns the least for a living. Having said that, I do okay. I don't have fancy vacations, my own home, or a driver's license. But I also don't have debts and I don't need to feel stress when the end of the month comes around. Not implying that they have debts, etc. I'm just saying that, even if my life is a bit more humdrum, I do okay. Story 22. My mother-in-law went out her way to call me about a week before a family get-together, telling me 4 separate times in conversation that there was going to be plenty of food, not to bring anything. You don't have to bring anything. Don't make anything plenty of food, don't worry about it. Yada yada with a rude tone. We generally get along great. I love her. There was ham and baked beans with a fruit salad for dessert. Yep. I usually just buy something to take, but apparently I can't even do that right. Whatever lol. Story 23. Having a friend try to set you up with someone because OMG you guys would be perfect for each other. But the person they think is perfect for you tells you more about what that friend thinks of you. Last one that was just my type was catty. Rude to wait staff, unemployed, and morbidly obese before I get some heat for this. A little extra doesn't scare me off. But I'm an avid outdoorsman and a weekend for me is hiking, camping, canoeing, etc. And I want someone who can do those things with me. Well, and that's all we have. I hope you like the theme of this video. I ask you to support the channel with a like, subscribe, and kalakolchikam. Well, and leave your comments. I will be glad to read them.